2. How we doing, family? It's your boy, Yo! And this is another episode of YoHoops. I go through every NBA game every day. Today's Saturday, March 28th, and we have a 6-game NBA card. I'm going to walk you through my thoughts and let you know what sides I like, so please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite game in the comment section below. Without further ado, let me get into today's games. Recap yesterday. I expected better, but overall we went 5-5 on the 10-game card. It was kind of the opposite of how I've been doing recently. I started with 3 straight L's, but finished the card relatively strong to make it a decent day. Like I've been mentioning, this final stretch can be a little tricky just in terms of motivation, but I'm locked in to end the year on a high note. Lighter card today, I'm gonna run through it and get you guys in and out of here. In our first matchup of the afternoon, we have the San Antonio Spurs in Milwaukee taking on Milwaukee Bucks. Spurs are minus 2,000 on the money line, and the total is 226. The Bucks have upgraded a few guys to questionable, but their IR is still a mile long. Of course, Giannis and Kevin Porter Jr. are both ruled out, but now Bobby Portis, Miles Turner, and Kyle Kuzma are all listed as questionable. When I look back at their recent games, they're losing a majority by margin. They've lost 6 of their last 10 by more than 20 points. The Spurs come into it at full strength, and they're only 2.5 games behind the Thunder, so they can still potentially reach the number 1 seed. I expect them to be locked in, but I want to isolate this one to the first half. Recently, teams have been quick to bring in their subs once they secure the blowout, and that makes sense because you don't want unnecessary injuries this close to the playoffs. With the spread this big, I can see a potential backdoor cover, so I'm taking the Spurs laying the 10.5 in the first half as my first selection of the afternoon. Up next, we have the Detroit Pistons in Minnesota taking on Minnesota Timberwolves. Pistons are minus 125 on the money line, and the total is 221.5. For the Pistons, I guess it's no Cade, no problem. They've won 5 of their last 6 games since he went down, and the one loss was in overtime against the Hawks. They've been playing well, but it looks like they come into this one with even more injuries. Tobias Harris, Oscar Thompson, Duncan Robinson, and Jalen Duren are all listed as questionable. Obviously, I'd like to know who's going to be on the floor, but rather than taking a side, I'm looking at a prop. I'm taking Rudy Gobert to go over 11.5 rebounds. The Wolves are still without Ant, so looking through both rosters, there's not a ton of scoring. We should see plenty of missed shots, and recently Gobert has been dominating the glass. He's cleared this line in his last 5 straight meetings. I'm gonna lock it in as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Philadelphia 76ers in Charlotte taking on Charlotte Hornets. Hornets are minus 240 on the money line, and the total is 232.5. The Hornets definitely shocked everyone, emerging as the number 1 team in the league against the spread, but tonight, they have their work cut out for them. Philly was playing through a handful of injuries, but they get a lot of their guys back tonight. Paul George and Embiid will both play, then Tyrese Maxey and Kelly Oubre have both been upgraded to questionable. If I'm being honest, Philly at full strength should be the favorites. Of course, it'll take some time for them to mesh as a team, but I can't see Charlotte winning this one by more than 6, especially if Maxey plays. I'm taking the Sixers plus the 6 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Sacramento Kings in Atlanta taking on Atlanta Hawks. Hawks are minus 950 on the money line, and the total is 237. The Hawks come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, flying from Boston back home to Atlanta. They kept the game competitive last night, but they did end up losing it, and all of their guys played over 30 minutes. They're a younger team, so rest shouldn't play too much of a factor, but it's something to keep in mind. The Kings proved me wrong in that last game against the Magic, but I still don't expect them to get up for this one. The Hawks are too deep of a team, and they're holding on to the 6th seed by 1 game, so you don't even want to risk losing the easy ones. I'm taking the Hawks laying the 15 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Chicago Bulls in Memphis taking on Memphis Grizzlies. Bulls are minus 180 on the money line, and the total is 245.5. This is probably the most meaningless game on the board. Neither team has a chance to even make the play-in, but they're also not in position to have good odds for the number 1 pick. I'm not going to say there's a huge edge either way, but I think the Grizzlies have more pride in a game like this at home. They do come into it on the second leg of a back-to-back, but they're a younger team, and they've been keeping them scrappy against tougher competition like the Nuggets and the Rockets. The Bulls did dominate this matchup a couple weeks ago, but that game was in Chicago, and the Bulls did a bulk of the damage in the fourth quarter. It was competitive up until then. Not one I'm rushing to the window with, but if I had to play it, I see the Grizzlies returning the favor at home. I'm taking Memphis plus a 4 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Utah Jazz in Phoenix taking on Phoenix Suns. Suns are minus 1800 on the money line, and the total is 231. At first glance, I was a little nervous laying this big of a number with Phoenix, but I have to keep in mind they're the second best team in the league against the spread, now 44-29 on the season. The Jazz have kept certain games competitive, but at the end of the day, they're on a 9-game losing streak, and a majority were by more than 20. The Suns are 4 games behind the Rockets for the 6th seed, so I definitely expect them to make a push to get out of the play-in. This is a big number, but ultimately, I see the Suns on go. I'm taking Phoenix laying the 17 as my last and final selection. And that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. 4 days left in March. Let's make them count. I'm now 101 and 103 on every game played this month. Let's get right back in that win column tonight. I appreciate all of the support so much. I do this every day for free, so please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy, Yo! And until the next one, I'ma catch y'all. Peace.